Hi guys, just back from a bit of shopping. I was out coaching for the day and then got a bit of shopping done, so been a good day so far. I love getting out and coaching. It's something that really gets me in a good headspace, um, and just gives me an outlet for my rugby brain. So while I'm not playing, it's just good to have that, somewhere I can just coach and then I can just vent basically. Not that I'm shouting at the lads all the time, but when you're not playing, it's really good to just have skills that you can use, and develop your people skills, stuff like that. It's good to also see the lads benefiting from it, and then you hope they enjoy your sessions. Like, you really hope that you're giving back. So it's something that has definitely helped me 1,000,000%. It's really good to have it because I was in a hard place where rugby just became more and more difficult, and I've been thinking about how I was going to make this video. This is a topic that I really wanted to discuss, um, and I didn't know how I was going to go about it because I wanted to kind of lead into obviously autism and anxiety, but this topic today is about depression, and it's a big one. It's something that I want to get right. It's something that I've been given a lot of thought to because I want to give some sound advice, and I'm going to make obviously all my videos centered around my autism because it's a condition that I've lived with since birth. Um, I got an early diagnosis with, so it's something that I'm going to come back to. But depression is a massive thing as well, and it's a topic that I guess is quite popular. So one thing like that I'd like to differentiate between in this video, really just to nail it and hammer it home, is the difference between anxiety and depression. A lot of people say I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, but I'd like to basically question that and go, did your anxiety cause your depression? Because I think the two go hand in hand a lot of the times. So like, I'll start then with anxiety because it's obviously part of my official diagnosis. Anxiety is like a fear, it's an energetic fear. It's like, oh shit, I didn't study for that exam. Oh, that team we're playing today look huge. I hope I don't get smashed. Oh shit, I forgot to get my girlfriend a gift for her anniversary. And your heart starts pounding in your chest. And you just have that fear inside you, and you're there thinking, bollocks, what do I do now? And it can paralyze you. Like I was saying with the fight or flight, then obviously you've got freeze, appease, or fawn, as people also say. But um, a lot of times you just want to run away from the situation, or you freeze, and that's happened with me loads of times. And it can get so bad where you're afraid to leave the house, and that's anxiety. You're afraid to go out and socialise with people. You're afraid to see your family. You're afraid to play a game. That's a big one for me. That's something that I use a lot. Anxiety hit me a lot playing rugby, just with how do you go about it? How do you want to play? If you make one mistake, you're letting your team down. And I was so self-critical, like I still am. Even in my coaching, I'm less self-critical and more so disappointed for the lads if they don't get the result they wanted or deserved. So I feel bad for them. And I get a little bit of anxiety, but definitely not the same as I got when I was playing. Um, I'm kind of like, I want the boys to do well, but also at the same time, I physically don't have to perform, and that's something that I struggled with for a while. So yeah, like basically leading on from what I was talking about when I was growing up, I want to just touch on that. So I wasn't non-verbal as a kid, but I was for a little while. I struggled to talk to people. Like, someone had asked me a simple question like, "Hi, what's your name?" And I'd be turned in the corner and I would just pretend I was talking to somebody else who was, I clearly wasn't, but I thought I was being very deceptive. The idea of striking up a conversation terrified me, so that's something that I never took into consideration, how terrified I was just to talk to people. And it's something I really need to consider because I literally flipped from, scared of my own shadow, basically, to people thinking I'm very outgoing, very extroverted, and very talkative. And I am, like, I make an effort to just chat to people and, be nice to people, wave. If they want to be an arsehole, so be it. That's on them, not me. Um, but I am extremely hard on myself. And that's something that I've definitely gotten better with, like, through different therapies, like I mentioned before. I was going to do a video just talking about all of them, because be a very short video if I broke each and every one of them down individually. But obviously, CBT was the big starting point, and then the two best by far were dialectical behavioural therapy (DBT) and then compassion focused therapy (CFT), and I've done both of them very recently. I have a great friend group from the CFT, and I'm grateful that I found them when I did. They're great people. I'm hoping to get them on the show. Um, Shout out to Izzy and Ushin, and also Fergal. Hope you're doing well, man. You guys were great, and then the amazing psychiatrists that worked with us as well. But it's a work in progress, and I guess I want to just not get off track too much here. So, anxiety for me has been that pounding in my chest, that fear, and then the rattling, the shaking. Like, a good way, like, of putting it is, if you're confronted by someone and someone's threatening you, then you can fight. You're right there in front of them. You can run away. Those are options to you. But very often, I would freeze and I'd have to psych myself up and go, come on, don't let someone get the better of you. Or a lot of times I just want to leave, but you can't. If someone's threatening you, you have to defend yourself. I firmly believe that. I was never one for just being a punch bag, but a lot of times I didn't start situations, and I would like to give that advice normally to people that don't start a situation. Like, don't be a dickhead. Don't go out looking for trouble. It's something that we don't really like talking about. But when lads will size you up as well and go, oh, you did nothing. He said this to you and you did nothing. Basically trying to call you a coward. And a lot of lads will goad you into fighting, or well, they sit back and enjoy. It's entertainment for them while you're getting your head kicked in. So don't be swayed by that shit. It's easy to get swayed and go, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. And that's where the guilt comes in. So, with depression, and I want to talk about what that is, but I wanted to just give an outline of anxiety and why I think it leads to depression. When you're anxious about doing something and the anxiety paralyzes you, which it has with me, and yet I've persevered through a lot of things, and I didn't give myself credit that might not give somebody else anxiety, but it gives me a shitload, like starting a conversation or just having to think about how I'm going to talk to people. Even before this video, like, I'm thinking, oh shit, I don't want to miss anything, I don't want to let anything go, I don't want to miss any important topics, and I really hope that I don't. But then you can kind of go to yourself afterwards, well, if I miss it in this video, I can always include it in the next. Like, for instance, something I really wanted to talk about that was a myth about autism, and it really pisses me off, is saying that autistic people don't have empathy. That's just straight out bullshit. I don't buy that at all. I think it's not conveyed in a way that neurotypical people can understand. Believe me, I'm a very empathetic person. Like, I'll text people to see if they're alright all the time, and it's very rarely done back for me. And the people who do genuinely say it the most are neurodivergent people. Like, I have two mates who are autistic, and they're always checking in on me. they get me and they're genuine as well. You know, that's the one thing. We are genuine for sure. I say we, like there's a lot of difference, but my other mates like O'Shane and Izzy that I mentioned from CFT, um, they're neurodivergent and they're always checking that they put everybody else's needs before their own, and that's something that you can do at your own detriment. It's gonna make you sick. Like I have a granddad who put everyone before himself, and he died in his 60s. Of another granddad who um, couldn't care less about anyone but himself, and you know he lives to 90 now. He's 91 actually, turned 91 this year. So I'm saying like stress is a killer. Yeah, how do you avoid it? It's a lot easier said than done. Like when you've got genuine worries. So now that that rant anyway, that was out of the way. Yeah, touching on me being empathetic, it leads me into things that I'm going to discuss, and that is what is depression. So I've heard a lot of good definitions of it, but I've also heard some really good descriptions of it, and I'm going to use one of mine that I've experienced personally, but it also shows you how the anxiety feeds into it. So basically, you know, you should go out for a walk. Sitting around the house all day isn't good for you. So your mind is constantly saying, "Oh, you're worthless. Get off your arse and go for a walk. You'll feel better. Get off your arse now. You know, do a bit of cleaning around the house." But you go for that walk, and it could even be, and it has happened to me before. As soon as you go outside, you're anxious and you're thinking, "Oh my god, I can't wait for this to end so I can go home and relax." And it makes no fucking sense. But that's how it feels. It's just discomfort in every situation. That's the best way of describing it. Because you're tired all day and yet you can't sleep at night. That makes no sense, right? Like, how the hell does that make sense? But it's the truth. And then, knock on effect is you're absolutely exhausted for the whole week. You're just always going around dragging yourself around, and you know you're a miserable fucker. Like, that's the God's honest truth. You realise it. You know you're terrible company to be with. And I have loads of times where I've just been like, my God, I'm just dragging these people down. I just feel like such a dead weight on these people. And I start experiencing this quite a young age. Like I said before, existential dread. That was something that I experienced from a very young age, where I was thinking about what happens when we die. Is God real? You know, am I going to hell for sinning and all this stuff? It's very real for me. And then I'll feel guilt for something that I can't control, or somebody asked me not to intervene in a situation, and I respected their wishes, but I feel like I should have done something. And it's the shoulds again, the shoulda, woulda, coulda. But if you think I should have done this, you can't change it. So that's a module that we covered in DBT, which is radical acceptance. Um, and it's a really good module because it just teaches you things are not perfect, things are shit, but they happened. Accept them. You know, accept what happened to you wasn't right, but don't let it rule your life. And that's very important. I think that's a lesson I need to keep drilling into my head, because I'll feel guilty about everything. And I just think about it like this. When I was younger and I was very, wouldn't even like the word aggressive, but I was very reactive as well. And like I was saying, people tipped me to annoy me, so I thought, okay, don't react. Adults are always telling you not to react. If you don't react, they'll leave you alone. So I thought, okay, don't react. But then people are goading you into saying to you, "Oh, he's saying this about you. He's doing this. He's doing, you know," and you're there thinking, "Oh, should I do this? Should I do that? You know, am I letting this fella get the better of me? Am I letting him disrespect me? And is he gonna keep doing it if I don't do something?" So damned if you do and damned if you don't, because you get in trouble if you react. You know, everybody sees the big kid picking on the little kid, and us big lads get it worse, trust me, because we're always thought of as the bullies. But there's a lot of mouthy little pricks out there who are very good at manipulating people. Can't tell you the amount of times where I've nearly had some little coward try and get me battered by a group of lads. You know, they're all their cousins or a group of their mates. They're waiting for me to snap, you know, and take the bait. So then there's justification for them attacking me, basically. You know, they see me picking on a smaller fella. That's it. That's all we need. Let's kick this fella's head in. And there was a lot of anxiety around that, not getting into trouble, because my mum said she was afraid of me ending up in jail or something like that, or worse. So that weighed in my mind, and I thought, how selfish is that of me then if I don't take her concerns seriously? Um, you know, it weighs on your mind a lot. But I guess where the depression started was not getting the rugby trial I really wanted, feeling like my coach didn't back me up in that regard, feeling let down, realising that there's a lot of shit that goes along with sport. You know, like it's not all the fairy tale ending that we love to see. We love a success story, we love a redemption story, but in reality, things don't work out the way you want them to, and it's all about how you deal with that. It's not good, it's shitty, it's such a horrible feeling, but I'm doing a lot of swearing in this video. I've been cautious in the other ones, and I guess I'm making up for it in this one. Just tired from the day I've had. But yeah, disappointment, setbacks. You know, you gotta learn to deal with them, but it's not easy. That's the reality of it. You aren't going to be successful in everything you do. And in fact, in a lot of things, you probably fail. That's the God's honest truth. Like, I was really good at rugby, and it was my everything. And I know that sounds a bit dramatic, but it really was. And looking back now, given the headspace I was in, my lack of self confidence, I don't think I could have done any more. Like, I'm getting more confident, but I didn't have the confidence it would take to succeed in a sport, you know? You gotta be very headstrong and self confident, and I just wasn't. When I started on antidepressants at 15, but like I said, I was drinking from 14, and then I realised how good alcohol was at numbing my anxiety because it was crippling for me. And sitting in the corner, not being able to talk to anybody, alcohol basically cured that overnight, and it was easy. You know, it did it almost instantly. I loved the feeling of being drunk, but it's a depressant. As much as we love drinking, believe me, I do. But it's a head wrecker for sure. And as you get older, the hangovers get worse. I'm only 26, but let me tell you, they're getting worse. But how does the actual depression show itself? I guess one of the most common ones is you can't get out of bed in the mornings. It's a struggle. You know, the feelings of intense guilt over things you should have done, things you wished you'd done differently. It's so hard to deal with. And it's inappropriate guilt. Like, that's how they phrase it when I was looking up the symptoms. And it's very true. Inappropriate is the right word. People will just brush that off. People who don't deal with depression, and they'll brush it off and it'll be fine. You know, they don't even think about it, they don't give it a second's thought. Whereas you're thinking about everyone you've ever wronged, and you're thinking about what a horrible person you were, you know. And best advice I can give is apologise to people who you feel guilty for hurting. I texted a few lads from school who I wasn't very nice to, you know, and I was nice to them. Said I'm really sorry about how I was then, and you know, they all appreciated that I made the effort and I didn't just forget about them. Like, there's lads that have been shitty to me, and like I say, tried to get my head kicked in. Guys I thought were mates that absolutely were not. They couldn't give a shit. They don't care. They won't give me a second's thought. That's fine. That's on them. That can't affect me, because you do think about that. You start thinking, how can there be so many bad people in the world, especially if you look at the news. If you're someone who's prone to depression like myself, avoid the fucking news. Do not look at it. It's the worst place to go. You'll see the situation at the moment. in Gaza, you'll see Ukraine, what's happening there, and you'll think to yourself, my God, everyone's evil. But you also think, what can I do about it? If there's nothing immediate that you can do about it, you gotta just not let it bother you. Because the guilt is something for me that just weighs me down. And it starts making me think, what is the point? Because you're such a piece of shit. You can't undo what you've already done. And I start to just think there's no point in what I'm doing now because of everything I've done. It's unforgivable. But it's not. Nothing is unforgivable. Unless you've killed someone, that's unforgivable. But other than that, there is a lot that can be forgiven. So yeah, like as I was touching on the symptoms, intense guilt. I think I've given good examples of that. Difficulty getting out of bed, for sure, is one. I've always managed to. Like I hear some people who were basically bedridden for a year. I know how that feels because there were a lot of times where I just dragged my arse out of bed and thought, what's the point? I just want to go straight back and fall asleep. But you don't feel any better for it. Some days you do feel better for having a nice lie on, like about 14 hours sleep. And you probably need it. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you're at the weekend and you've no commitments coming up or nothing, sleep in. Don't worry about it. I used to be so guilty with myself, just saying, oh, you're a lazy fuck, get out of bed, go do something. Why are you sitting around? And as well, being in that rugby mindset and thinking the competition aren't sleeping. It's something I'm going to definitely make a full video on, the good and the bad about sport, because there is a lot of good, but there's a lot of negative stuff as well. Like when you've got fans, like parents acting like gobshites on the sideline, or if you're American, assholes or douchebags. But some obnoxious parents, like when you're just a kid playing a game, it's demoralising. And then some teams cheating, putting out all their players just to get a win, just to boost their own ego. It's very demoralising. And it can really knock your confidence, especially when you're going out and you've got that nice mindset of, I'll do everything the right way, I'll train properly, I won't touch any drugs, I'll be good, I'll eat, sleep, I'll do all the right stuff. And you find out guys are drug cheating left, right and centre. And a lot of guys do drug cheat, and that's the reality of it. And if you're not prepared to do that, well, in a lot of cases, you're not going to succeed in a lot of sports. Like you take something like professional bodybuilding. The reality is, you can show people winning and all the hard work they've put in, but those guys are all taking steroids, anabolic steroids. So look at them and go, they didn't achieve that without taking them. You can gloss it up as much as you want, but you have to say the harsh reality. They're not natural, they're cheating. Still put in a lot of work for sure, but it gives you a lot of negative images of why can't I be like this fella. And if you're not prepared to take the drugs, and it's a huge reality of a lot of sports, not just bodybuilding. It was something I wasn't prepared to do. Now I don't know, rugby has a lot of hidden secrets about taking drugs, and there's lads who are suspected of doing it and lads who haven't been caught. But anyway, I won't get into that in this video. I'm just saying sport can make or break you. Like, it's great as an outlet. So the good things about it are, for me, it stopped me hanging around with the wrong crowd for too long. I'm just going to take a drink because mouth's getting a little dry. But I guess the cliches about sport are that they keep you on the straight and narrow. It's an outlet. Like if you're in school and straight after, you might be a bit tired, but you go and know that you've gone to train, you've done a bit of running, you've done a bit of gym work, you feel good about yourself. Or at least what you can say is, okay, well, at least I did this. I didn't feel great today, but I got a session done. I feel better about myself, even slightly. Where the depression started getting to me was, as I say, struggling to get out of bed, real difficulty getting motivated. And I just really found it hard to keep going back to the gym, and yet I did. I was going out at the weekends. I was started getting friend groups, so I'm drinking and I'm smoking. I'm not smoking all the time, but enough, and it was an anxiety reliever, and it made me think I was one of the cool kids. But as I start getting older and more life responsibilities, like training twice a week, playing a game once a week, in the gym 4 times a week, and then a game at the weekend, and also going out socialising. You can do it when you're 17, 18, but as you get older and college starts to hit, which it did, that's when I noticed the depression really take a hold of me, because I had to study. I had I had really winged it for the leaving cert. Like, I got my arse into after school study, threw my bag down, said, "Alright, Dan, learn, just learn, read some books." So just my seat. But it's good to talk about this, because now looking back, I was doing an awful lot, and that's a good thing. But I want to say it might not always be feasible. Like, I was able to go train, and I knew I wouldn't do any extra study if I stopped training. And I thought, this is a good outlet for me. I need this right now, so I won't be acting the fool. So in that way, I'm eternally grateful for sport and the discipline it's given me, because I could have flown off the handle and been very bad at controlling my emotions. But in a game, you can't. You get sent off, you cost your team. And don't get me wrong, it was like, I am a very emotional person, and that's where I don't like the stereotype with autism. That they're this dull, boring, emotionless prick, and that there's no empathy. I have a lot of empathy, and I don't think I should be giving in to all the time. That's one good thing, like, about my mum, is that she didn't give in to me, and I have a duty to respect other people. They shouldn't have to tiptoe around me, and I completely get that. That's perfectly fine by me, and I don't want people pitying me. Pitying is something you kind of start getting depressed about as well. You just think, I'm such a dead weight, I'm worthless, I'm a piece of shit, even more, and those thoughts will go through my head on a daily basis. Um, but yeah, like, getting back to motivation, I had to summon so much just to get my arse to the gym. But being in school, it's easy if you've got a gym in the school, which we did. I was getting up at like 6 in the morning to go to gym sessions. I was like, fair fucks to you, Dan. Well done. You're going on your 12 kilometre runs. You're doing very well. Fair play to you. And I was doing a lot. Like, I was super fit, and I worked so hard to get myself that way. I remember one of my favourite rugby players, David Pocock, brilliant flanker. Probably it's going to be a bit controversial for any rugby fans, but in my eyes, even better than Richie McCaw. But I was so obsessed with getting somewhere that I looked at what he did. He said he used to do 1,000 crunches a night, and I shit you not, I used to do that as well. And then I was able to carry on doing that in school. Once you leave and I start doing my course, DNA and forensics, I didn't start it the right way at all, because I was always using that anxiety to fuel myself, like that energy, negative energy, positive energy. Whenever I had any energy, burn it off. And I was whacking out the cans of Monster. I used to have like 4 to 500 ml cans in my locker, and I go through about 2 of them a day. I'd always buy fresh cans, just so they were always lying there in my locker waiting to go whenever I needed them. And don't get me wrong, I'm still a caffeine addict, but I'm so happy that I don't drink energy drinks as much anymore, because they can be it can be quite good, but also long term give you heart problems, and there's a lot of shit in them. But they're also amazing when you need to get through a gym session, trust me. But you should also think to yourself, if I need this to do a gym session, perhaps I need a rest. There's a good um, expression that I heard before. Jim Carrey said it actually, and he said, think of depressed as deep rest. And that's a great way of putting it, because you got to be nice to yourself. And I learned that after burning myself out. So, Jesus, even saying it now, it's mad. But I went straight from leaving, sir, working uh, about 15 to 20 hours a week, doing all that gym work, doing all that running. Everybody praising me, telling me how great I was doing, to right, you're out of school. My dad wanted me to get a trade, and I thought, well, it's a macho job, it's important as well. I'll do that, yeah, of course. My dad, you listen to your dad, and I think he was well intentioned, but I guess I'm glad it wasn't feasible. So, just to talk about it, I would have had to travel 2 hours to and from it, in public transport. Had to be there for 6 a.m. and the bus didn't start running until half 6. So I got a lift the first few days, and then that wasn't feasible. From the guy working there, who I was going with, he had to go to another site, so that didn't work out, and I got accepted to college, um, IT Tala Technological University Dublin as it is now. So I got accepted there, got a grant that covered my fees and everything. So I thought, okay, I'll go there. Saw a lot of good looking girls in college too, and thought, like I said before in another video, having a lot of good looking girls that I'm out partying with, I'll finally get a girlfriend, as opposed to some big fat old fella, screaming abuse at me and scratching his arse. And I got to meet a lot of really nice girls as well, and changed my perspective. I realised how misogynistic I was because I was always around fellas, and in that macho environment, you just look at yourself and you kind of go, Jesus, did I really say those things? Because I used to think if I see a good looking girl, oh, she's probably stuck up. Not everyone is stuck up. There was a lot of nice, good looking girls in college, and I was just too anxious, lacking in confidence, just to go over and talk, just to chat to them. And you don't have to go out with every single one of them. And if one of them says, sorry, I have a boyfriend, or I'm not into you, that's fine. Of course it's fine. No reason why you can't be friends. Like, you shouldn't be looking for a relationship with every girl you meet. Um, that was something that depressed me as well, was just how bad I was with the ladies. But that was down to me, like, you hear of all these incels online, and a lot of them just don't want to work on themselves. I was so depressed and miserable, I wouldn't want any girl having to deal with that. That's not fair to them. I'm a basket case. Last thing I want is someone I really care about and I'm attracted to have to go around with me. That sounds really harsh, I know, but ironically enough, while I went to college, I was still training away. I was playing in the senior team, in rugby, and I was always saying, yes, so can you play for this team? You're 18, can you play under 20s? I thought, grand, but I got moved straight up to the men's team, the seniors team. So they call it J1 when it's the first team, J2, J3, and so forth when you go a tier down. I thought, yeah, what an honour, of course. And I played a lot of J2s, so that'd be just a step down from the first team. But my mum would always say, "Oh, are you sure you're not overdoing it?" Because she had said it to me before, and she was dead right. I thought, no, you can't overtrain. You can't, which I found out the hard way. But it was like I was on a carousel or a train or something, some object that keeps moving. And I always kept thinking, if I step off even for a second, my fitness will go to shit. I'll lose all my strength. Because I was strong, but I was also extremely fit, so that combination is perfect for rugby. But DNA and forensics, it's a science course, it's a tough course. You have to study for it, and that's fair enough, that's exactly what you got to do. And it's interesting when you look at people, so you look at... I'm always fascinated by how courses impact people, and I heard of a study going on. The sports science students in IT Tala were doing it, and it was fascinating. It was comparing their course, which is obviously based around fitness and health. So they're obviously lads with big, massive biceps and six packs, versus an accounting course. And a lot of them would just be into money and stuff like. Actually, it was actually my brother that told me about it. Give credit to Sam. Sorry, Sam, you did tell me about that before. But there we go again with the sharp T. Um, I thought it was fascinating just to think about that. You know, because they're actually into sport, but it's also part of their day to day. Like, it actually benefits them to do it. Whereas if you're accounting, they put in long hours. Um, I have a cousin that's an accountant, actually brilliant with numbers, genius. He's a go-to guy for me. Gives sound advice, but it's tough. But you're sitting down, you're crunching numbers, and there's not an awful lot of physical activity. And that was kind of how our course went. There was a lot of labs. It was very intense. There was a lot of lectures. We were in for about 40 hours. I remember we'd have a lab from 12 till half 7 at night. So that's 12 midday. So you can imagine with a half an hour break in between. So that's very intense. So to do the level of exercise I was doing wasn't feasible because I was going to the gym straight after college. I wasn't studying. I had to go up to the rugby club. I'd finish at 4 in college because we had so many lectures. It was basically a 9 to 5 job on top of everything else. Um, Not as intense. Well, it was pretty intense, but they're preparing you for the real world, and that means managing your time more wisely. And like finishing at 4, taking an hour long trip to training, you're not getting any study done that time. And then from 6 till 10, you're doing training. And I always had to be in the gym before training. You didn't have to, it wasn't mandatory, but I thought to myself, free gym session, get your arse in there, do some training. Everybody was delighted with me if I was asked to play a game. Yeah, of course I will. No problem. And I should have said no more often, and I really regret not just going to support the lads in my team. Which is quite selfish of me in a way, you know. Like, if you're not playing, and if you're playing any team sport, go and watch. You might pick up something. I wish I'd done that more. Um, but I should have said no. I should have set the tone. But my mindset is, and I think it's a good one to have, but it's kind of a more old school mindset of whatever the coach or manager tells you, you do it. You know, you do it and don't back chat or nothing. And I'm not saying be a mouthy little shit. I'm saying stand up for yourself and say sorry, but I'm busy. I need a bit of time off. Can I just come and watch? And be honest, say your mental health's not in a good spot. One thing with the lads I'm coaching at the minute is I always encourage them to come to me. I'm quite a relaxed coach, you know, but I let them know if I think they're not performing. I'm not that hard though. I don't want to be hard on them. I take everything that I've not liked about training and I apply that to them. And that's the one thing is life experience. So whenever I think, oh, I made a fool of myself here, I look like a fool here, I look like a gobshite, I think, but in fairness to me, I had the balls to give it a go. So if you fail at something, you learn. There's a lot of people living in the comfort zone, and as they say, that's where dreams go to die. You might find out you don't like something. Like I found out a trade, yeah, wasn't for me, and it was also the luck of the draw because if I didn't go to college, I would have found a way to do that because that's what my dad wanted. It was either do that or go to college. So if I didn't go to college, he'd be there saying, "Well, what are you going to do with your life now?" Well, it's a fair point to make, um, but I had to do something. And college, luckily, I managed to sort my act out. But that's when I noticed the real, almost bedridden depression. Too anxious to leave the house a lot of times. Some days I'd go out for one walk, maybe. There's a fog in your eyes, I would say. That's the only way I can describe it. Where you get cabin fever because you're sitting in, you're watching TV, you're barely moving, you're burnt out, and that's what happened to me because I was just overtraining and drinking and rugby is a big thing, and I loved it. I loved going playing my games at the weekend, and then I take the week seriously, but I take the week seriously, and then come the weekend, I've played my games. Time to go on the piss. I've done the hard work. Work hard, play hard. And I certainly did. But Jesus, the amount I drank, it's got to do some damage, you know? And it did. And it led to me being bedridden. I'd always managed to get out of bed, but some days were a struggle. So bedridden isn't the right word, but thinking to myself, what is the point of going on here? You know, what is the point? And then I gained so much weight. So to put it into perspective, in school, when I was at my peak fitness, I was 18, I was 90 kilos, and I was like 15 and a half stone, about that. And then by the time I was, what I've been, 2021, I nearly weighed 20 stone. I was 127.5 kilos to be exact. Yeah, I managed to get up and weigh myself on the scales. And at 19, like, you even just, I know that's not including 19, but I was in good shape and I had a lot of muscle on me. So I looked really good, and I cut back on all the cardio. But being heavy, got a bad shoulder injury in rugby, got a load of bad injuries. Even having more muscle on, it was harder for me to move. So it just meant that I was dragging myself around. And when I couldn't train, I was eating like a horse. So that increased appetite meant that I kept eating, but wasn't doing the training. And I thought to myself, screw this. I was working in a cafe at the time. Had a bit of trouble with people there. Because I just get brain fog really badly in work sometimes. And people would be talking to me and I just wouldn't be paying attention. Some people would be harsh on me because I'd be very forgetful. And I'd just say, let me just think, I need to just focus, give me a second. I can't think with all this stress. And I ended up stress eating because I got a staff discount. So I was I'd make a jumbo sandwich for myself, load of crisps. I'd be taking home loads of cakes from work. With my staff discount, I was paying a lot less for them and bringing them home. I was drinking about 5 large cups of coffee every day. Because we got a staff discount and that was like 25 cents or something. And I was in work, so I was working, but I was eating like a hog. So yeah, 19 not looking too bad, 20 letting it slip because first year was so hard and I really didn't study enough, being depressed and struggling, just really struggling to make it into college, having panic attacks every day where you're literally getting tunnel vision, you're sweating buckets. Felt like I was about to have a heart attack, like I'd just be grabbing my chest going like that. But thank God for the quiet room of IT Tala and Aisling, the counsellor in IT Tala. She was absolutely brilliant. And Geraldine, the learning support officer, and Gary. They were so good for me. Geraldine gave me so many good notes. Gary set me up with the disability office, and Aisling provided me with invaluable counselling. And also, I became a peer supporter at college, which I absolutely loved. Brought me out of my shell. I could be empathetic to people because I knew exactly the shit they were going through. I got a lot more extroverted after that moment. So massive thanks to Aisling O'Brien, VT Tala, for that. She just helped me so much from being a basket case that could barely socialise. And Freshers Week, yeah, I drank loads and realised pretty quick wasn't the winning strategy, but I was also so depressed that I couldn't care less. I kept just thinking of dropping out, but I didn't, thank God. I'm so happy about that. And I really just had to keep pushing despite having zero motivation. And thinking to myself, right, first year, you've only got one module you have to repeat. Like, I failed about 5 of them, passed them in the repeats, except for one. So I thought, look, this could have gone a lot worse. just paid like a standard fee for one exam, grand, no problem. Study your arse off for this, get through the second year, which I did. So apart from being depressed, um, literally gone from the stage where I was cycling and walking into work to my mum seeing me and how dreadful I looked and feeling sorry for me and saying, "Would you like a lift?" And I said, "Please." And like it was only up the road, it wasn't far at all, but I was so miserable, lazy, fat, say what you want. I'm not exactly slim now, but I'm in a lot better physical condition than I was, trust me, and much better headspace. But it comes and goes, and like it was a difficult period for me. That whole period, that's where my physical health went to shit. Um, just going out drinking, smoking, eating crap, being as unhealthy as you can imagine. Um, Drinking loads of cups of coffee. I still absolutely love coffee. It's something I refuse to give up. But also just feeling like a laughing stock. Like I felt that way for a while, and yeah, just a lot of things, a lot of lack of self confidence, being in poor physical health, um, not being able to manage my drink. And alcohol's something I'd love to touch on, but I'll go into more detail. But basically, as I was 21, supposed to be some of the best years of your life, and I'm fat, looking terrible. Um, and I went through school looking the same, well, being in good shape physically, but like have a grown beard now. But I always wanted a beard, but I was still showering. Like I managed to get myself into the shower, but in school, I remember my hair just wasn't cut at all. It looked stupid, and then wasn't shaven, nothing. Just had those bits of scraggly hair in my face. And in some ways, I didn't like looking my best when I didn't feel my best. So, like, if I felt really good, I might go and have a shave, get a haircut, and I was still in good physical condition because I knew I had to be just for my sport, but it was the only thing keeping me going. And then taking you back to that time when I was 21, wasn't looking after myself, had a 5 o'clock shadow and hair looking shabby as well, and went over on a family holiday to Holland in a terrible headspace. And all the things that would have stopped me from behaving in this manner, everything pulling me back, just didn't. And I got myself into a lot of trouble. Me and my uncle were outside our accommodation, and it was freezing. It was a Dutch winter, so flew out on December the 13th, Friday the 13th. I should have fucking seen that one coming a mile off. But been drinking 8% beer all night, buckled. Should have gone to bed earlier, didn't. And we're kicking on the door and banging on the door, causing a domestic disturbance. And someone comes out and says, "Stop making noise." It's like 2 or 3 in the morning. And we just both scream, "Fuck off." And then the police were called, and I spent the night in a cell. And it didn't hit me until I sobered up, and the rage and hangover that came with that was like, "Oh fuck, what have I done here? What have I done? I'm a fucking idiot. I'm a tick." My phone was dead as well, so when I got all my possessions back from the police over in Holland, I remember just thinking, "Oh my god, what have I done?" And they told me that I'd been going around with my uncle causing carnage. Places were refusing us and we were shouting and roaring. I shouldn't be laughing, but we were known about. Um, but no charges were being pressed, and I had to go back to that accommodation that day. Thank God the Dutch transport system is brilliant, and the police were sympathetic with me. They asked me if I was alright, and they brought a psychiatrist in to evaluate me. Um, Thank God they were as good at managing the situation as they were, because I was not in a good headspace. Um, not at all. We were moving house at the time. COVID had hit, so that was stressful. My mum was going through serious inflammation. She has polymyalgia rheumatica and arthritis. So basically, for a while, she's been in really bad physical pain. Remember feeling worthless that I couldn't help her out. Just feeling like a complete drain on her, because she had to worry about me, and then my brother got depressed. So it felt like we were both useless to her. And then moving house as well, having to get it cleaned, having to get it looking good during COVID, which obviously affected people. But sorry, this was before COVID. That caused extra stress. But getting back to the accommodation after getting arrested and not being able to check my phone, which I was sure was full of messages, thought to myself, oh my god, what have I done? And then my cousin, I said I'll go and see my cousin. I knew the shop that he worked at in the little village, and he's laughing and he says, do you know what you got up to last night? And I was like, how bad was it? And he said there was messages going around in the group chat that we all have, all the shops have around here, warning them about you and our uncle, which is great, isn't it? Not his dad. His dad's 60th was on, which is, I'm sure that was a great way to celebrate. But I remember going back to the accommodation and having to explain to my dad what happened and just feeling so guilty. The shame that hit me and thinking, oh, I'm not going out with them tonight. I need to just stay off the drink. But I didn't. Had a few, the hair of the dog, and then we went back home. And I guess the shame stayed with me for a while. It's about 4 or 5 months later, and I was out with a few mates. And slagging could get a bit out of hand sometimes, and I'd said it to them before that I felt like all the jokes were being hurled my way, which I do think they were. And they'd said, oh, but your mates always slag you, that's just the dumb thing. And I thought, yeah, I'm just being sensitive. But then I start getting pissed off again. We were at one of the lads' houses. There was 3 of us. So I said I'm leaving because I just felt like shit. And my other mate insisted on walking home with me. And I said I was grand to go on my own, but he insisted, and we'd been drinking heavily enough. And on the way home, I just didn't want to talk to him, and he kept asking me what was wrong, and I said, go away, I don't want to talk. And then next thing I just said, here man, I can't fucking do this anymore. And I literally thought in a split second, I want this all to end. And I saw a car in the distance coming over the brow of a hill, so I said, fuck this, and then just sprinted for the car, jumped at it. The fella, thank God, slammed on the brakes. Thank the Lord he did. Someone was looking down on me, because if he hadn't done that, I could have been seriously injured, if not killed. That was my intention, of course, but it's funny, not funny, haha, but I literally said to him, because he was screaming, you fucking idiot, I could have lost my licence if I hit you, obviously thinking it was a prank or something, because I guess that does happen. I remember arguing with him and just saying, why didn't you fucking hit me? And just screaming at him. And then, my mate apologising for me, and I was like, don't apologise for me, like, don't patronise me. But then I got really emotional, and I started, like, punching a bus stop or something, and the lads laughed and then drove off. And then my mate trying to tell me all the reasons why I shouldn't have just done what I did, and going, why the fuck would you do that, And I said, because everyone thinks I'm a joke, everyone thinks I'm a laughing stock, and everybody thinks they can just take the piss out of me, and it's alright. And it has happened a lot, and then, oh, calm down, we're only messing. That fucking annoys me so much when people say that. If someone's asked you, and like, I'm guilty of slagging people off as well, but I've also said, look mate, that was a dickhead move that I did, I'm really sorry about that. You know, I'm no angel. I'm not trying to make out like I am. Not at all. I've been a complete dickhead to people. Um, but you own up to it. Like, say sorry. Say that the way I treated you wasn't right, and I'm very sorry about that. Like, even me and my brother, like, I'll slag him off quite badly, and then he'll do the same to me. Um, and sometimes I'm there thinking, Jesus, rein it in. But we know we love each other and we'd have each other's backs, and that's the thing. Um, like, we have a good laugh, and I'll say something to him, and he'll get me with something even better. But it can get out of hand, and it can really mess with someone's self-esteem. Um, and it's interesting how we dramatise suicide a lot. It's that word that I'm not supposed to mention, but I think my channel's not massive, so hopefully they'll let me off with it. But it's really dramatic, you know. I made this note and then I had everything ready to go. And mine wasn't that well thought out. In fact, it was just literally a spur of the moment. I can be quite impulsive and erratic, and those two events really just made me think I've got to do something differently. Because what I'm doing isn't working. But there have been other incidents where I've nearly been arrested again, and luckily in Ireland we're a lot more relaxed because in mainland Europe probably would have happened. This was just causing trouble, and I nearly got into a couple of fights and got thrown out of nightclubs for being just obnoxiously drunk. I've been in some awful states, and that's the thing. Like, you think to yourself, logically, you're depressed. Why would you put a depressant into your body? But it's because you feel so bad and so terrible in who you are. You don't want that feeling to be there, and drink gives you a buzz even just for the night, makes you feel great, and then it wears off and the anxiety comes back tenfold, and that's awful, you know. And antidepressants are not a cure. You take them and you think to yourself, oh yeah, now I'll be fine. They've some terrible side effects. I'm on 10 milligrams of Lexapro right now, and in fairness, it is doing the trick for me. But I remember being younger and being on Prozac and sertraline, and your libido, like your sex drive, goes to shit. I remember literally, like, not to go into too much detail, but 3.5 months without ejaculating, basically. Like, I didn't even think that was humanly possible. But I had no desire whatsoever to do anything. And then we're all adults here, so I mean that in a serious sense of libido and sex drive is just destroyed. And then you're a young fella, you're a young lad, and I was so embarrassed. What if if I see a girl I like and we're going to have sex, and I think you can work the rest out yourself if I can't get it up. How embarrassing is that going to be? And I was terrified. Like, that was something that really scared me. But I had to do all my own research into side effects. And I'm gonna make a lot more videos hopefully, but that'll be one. Antidepressants, more of a deep dive. This is a video that has taken a while, and I'm glad. It's a bit longer left to go, but yeah, there's just some things I want to touch on. Myths around depression. It's not always going to be the goth kid in the corner, you know, wearing black and white. I think people know that already. Um, you know, it can be anyone going through anything. There's different types of depression as well. So a family event could happen. Sorry, one sec. So, like, say you have a bereavement. It's not uncommon to be depressed when you lose a loved one. Bereavement counselling is great for that. So, if your depression alleviates and goes away after that, great. But a big myth that I'd like to bust right now is people seem to sell you this, and like I was saying with rugby and sport in general, but this success story um, of, oh, I just kept working at it. I took my antidepressants and now I'm over depression and I'm getting back to the things I love. That's not how it works. Sadly, I wish it was, or at least it hasn't been in my case. How it worked with me was I just kept getting ground down even further. It recurs with me, so I can come back and I just have no energy. I'll feel like shit, um, lethargic. I'll get feelings of guilt. If I go out drinking, even worse. Now I can have a few drinks. I'm still trying to be careful with that because I've had a problem with alcohol. Definitely using it as a crutch for sure. But you have to keep doing the things that worked. Like you can't just start taking antidepressants, then start drinking again and think you're going to be cured. It's going to come back. You're taking drugs. Like if you're taking something like cocaine, yeah, that's a stimulant, but the come down is horrific. Um, it's horrendous. It's something that luckily I never got into it, but I have experienced the come down, and I'd never touch it again. Thank God. But like I was miserable for a week and could barely get out of bed. It just seems like such a pointless thing to take and put into your body. Um, Caffeine is something you need to watch as well, because if you're consuming loads of caffeine, yeah, what goes up must come down, and you're not actually giving yourself more energy. You're stopping yourself feeling tired. So when you get a build up of adenosine, that's building up, and then crash. You feel exhausted. That's all it's doing. And saying that, I absolutely love coffee and I'm not giving it up, but cutting down on it is something that I definitely recommend. And I've been doing it myself. I used to have, like I say, 5, sometimes even 6 cups a day. And now I try and limit myself to 3, maybe 4 at a push, but I'm trying to get better at that. Um, but yeah, that's a big myth about depression, is that all these success stories, and they are important, but you need to be realistic about it. If you've got medical depression, or endogenous is what a doctor said to me, but basically it's within me, and he said to me, unfortunately, some people are just born that way. They're more prone to depression. There's a family history, there's genetics, and there is genetics in my case, sadly. Um, there's a big family history of mental illness on both sides. So yeah, it's very likely that me and my brother would develop it, and we have, unfortunately, but it's not a death sentence. And that's another myth to bust. You have to take into account you're more sensitive to things and accept that. I spent so long trying to prove I'm this macho man when I'm a sensitive soul. Like, we've a retriever, a golden retriever, Alfie, and I adore him, and I talk to him, we're going on walks, I love him to bits, I kiss him all the time. And I wouldn't have told you that before, but I love him, and I'm always worrying about him and I'm terrified if anything ever happens to him. I'm a soft soul, and I surrounded myself trying to be a macho man, and I'm not. That's just not me. You say someone's a man's man, that isn't me. I'm empathetic, I'm loyal, I'm a good friend, I will be. To someone if they're loyal to me. Like, I like drama and stuff like that. Liked English in school, poetry, and some of it could be really depressing, but it's also very good. And I'm ashamed to admit this, but some romantic comedies, I know. Some, not all, but some. That's the thing. You gotta have a wellness program in place for yourself, and you don't always have to get back into a sport. I'd say, like, I want to get well so I can get back to playing at the level I was at. So just to give you a few examples, and again I'll touch on it a lot more in a video about sport, but I used to think I have to play for the best team, like the J1s, the first team in every club, but there's no point. And then we moved to Wexford. I played for Gorey Thirds team, the J3s, and we won a cup. Now it's not the same level. The lads don't train every week like you'd have to if you were playing for their firsts or seconds. But I wasn't physically able for it. I dealt with so much depression wearing me down. My fitness was so bad because I just wasn't able to train. Um, I was out of shape. Like I said, I was nearly 20 stone. So that's not good, as you can imagine. Um, it's really not good. That's in pounds, £280, roughly around that. Um, Anyone who's American listening, I was nearly £280. It was huge, and I was very sluggish. But one thing, weirdly enough, and I always say this to people, I got more body confident when I was a fat bastard than I did when I was, and I'm not even being funny, like I'm naturally a chubbier person, but I had abs showing for the first time in my life, and I was looking good. I looked very well, but I thought I was fat. Body dysmorphia was something I definitely struggled with now that I look back at it, because I thought I need to keep losing weight, even though I was clearly very thin. You know, like a measure for that is when your head looks too big for your body. And I looked at a picture and thought, Jesus, that looks like my head's not attached to my body. It looks like someone's photoshopped it in. I was like, oh, maybe that's what it was. Just starving myself, and over exercising. It's just a lot of things to consider. You know, your depression can get worse, sadly, and you'll need to take a step back. And as a healthy medium, like that, like I said, I used to do boxing, football, rugby, cycle to and from school. Had to cut back. Just played rugby. Just played for a club and school. Then I just played for the school. Then I went back to doing both. But that was the sport I stuck with. And then in college, yeah, my fitness was appalling. So went to play a bit of rugby league in the summer. Fitness, you know, a couple of injuries, a couple of knocks. My head wasn't in it. You know, I wasn't mentally as strong as I had been. Just not in the game. The love wasn't as strong as it was before, and that passion and desire just wasn't there. So went to play in Gorey here in Wexford. The lads were very welcoming, and then played for the seconds team mostly. Had to take a breather from it because I had to get my head right. I was on sertraline, Zoloft at the time, and it just made my mouth so dry. I felt sick all the time. I was mixing antidepressants and alcohol, so doing any sort of fitness, I just got sick. I puked loads of times. I got knocks to the head. So I said, look, I just can't keep this up. Had to take a step back. Was no issue with anybody in particular. Then played a bit of social rugby, the J3s, the thirds team, and won a trophy there. And then I just said, I'm going to take a year off because I played 3 games and I'd gotten sick in all of them just from being dizzy. Gotten a few concussions as well and a few bad injuries. So I said, look, I'm going to take a year off. I've been considering this for a long time, so I'm going to do it and see how I feel. And then thankfully, I have a good friend now, Fozzie, who got me into coaching, so I can still stay involved and I can give back. I'm active in the training too, so I'm running around and I'm helping the lads. And it's staying involved. It's feeling like I'm giving something, and I'm happy for the lads when they win. I'm gutted for them when they lose. I've met a good group of lads there, and I've gotten training from Leinster on coaching. So I've got my first badge done, and I'm delighted with it. It's been a godsend. It's a great way for me to stay involved, and I have a home gym which I use. So be easy with yourself. You know, guys are gonna tell you gotta do extreme exercise. Go for a walk, be out in nature. Go for a cold water swim, I swear by them. Maybe it's not your thing, look, fair enough. Cold shower maybe, don't know. But do something. Doesn't have to be intense all the time. maybe you can progress, but you don't have to go on a 12-kilometer run every day like I did. You can go for a long walk, 10,000 steps a day. Try and get that. That's a good thing to set yourself. My last cut that I did, where I got below the weight that I wanted to get to, wasn't as intense as I've done before, but way more effective because I was consistent. I also want to talk about that. There's so much going on in this brain. Um, and I was thinking about this video, but I'm very happy with the way it's turned out. Delighted, it's one I've really wanted to do. And guys, thanks so much for listening. Stay well, look after yourselves, be easy on yourselves, you know. Try and get outside, get in the fresh air. That's a big thing that I'll say if you're depressed. Don't worry about running a marathon or anything like that. If you feel like setting yourself goals, do. Definitely do, yeah. But you don't have to always do intense exercise. Just getting out of the house every day when you're severely depressed, like I've been a lot of times, that's a win. Getting out of bed, getting a shower, you know, anything. Celebrate the little things. Make a journal, write it down. When you're severely depressed, motivation is very hard to come by. You're dragging around a dead weight a lot of the time. That's how it feels. I know, trust me. But I finally started getting proper help for it and looking after my head, getting on a medication that is helping me, doing talk therapy, and getting outdoors. So that's it, you know. So lads, without further